We're going to get cracking in a moment, but before we do, this is an important announcement. The information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into account your personal situation. We don't guarantee the quality of the wine or the banter contained in this content. You should consider whether the information is appropriate for your needs and your daily intake. And where appropriate, seek professional advice from a financial advisor, accountant, bottle shop assistant, or relevant qualified professional. Matters referred to in this podcast are of general nature only, and for those of drinking age, and should not be relied upon in place of appropriate personal advice or the odd glass of wine on a Friday.
To make sure you get the most out of wealth, wine and wisdom, folks, please follow the house rules. Don't be a wallflower, get involved in the chat. We love to have some questions, feedback, and a little bit of commentary along the way. You give us energy, we'll have a good time. Make sure you pour yourself a glass of something wet to wet the whistle. Make sure you get the banter flowing as well. Doesn't matter what you're drinking, whether it's wine, our favourite, beer, coffee, maybe it's a cup of tea, water, or even juice. Keep the good energy flowing, folks. There's some house rules. If you don't put your name down, we don't know who you are, you're not coming in. Don't spam or advertise. This is our little game of cricket. This is all about debriefing the week, folks. What's going on out there in the world, and hopefully get you some sanity, maybe a bit of a chuckle at the end of the week, so we can all be on the same page and keep moving forward. Make sure you respect your fellow patrons, because we don't let any old muck in this place. And most of all, have some fun and enjoy this episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Fenton.
Whitten! Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, mate.
Good to be in your person.
Yeah, mate. Good to see you in fabulous Brisbane. I think we've got a few folks on already. Hey, give us a shout out. Hey, there's Kumi. Good afternoon. Good evening. Brad. Hey, there we go. Brad.
We're on Brisbane time today, folks.
Hey, Brad, shout out. Shout out, Brad. Caught up with your account. Thanks, mate. He's a nice chap. Yeah, there you go.
The pop star.
Yep, absolutely. Bryce, how are you, mate? Good to see you. Hey, give us a shout out in the chat, folks, if you're there live with us today for a Wealth, Wine and Wisdom from a special location, Fenton.
Amazing
and a special
place.
wine.
Yes.
I can't believe how good this, folks. This is how fucking good Fenton is. I bought a glass of wine and I'm like, oh yeah, it's in fancy glasses today, Fenton.
Pinot glasses.
Pinot glasses.
Yeah, perfect.
And he goes, oh, I know that wine. That's this one from somewhere in Victoria. And then, lo and behold, it's bloody Far Rising. He goes, oh, that's a Far Rising Pinot from Victoria. Oh, bullshit. Anyway, there you go.
It's an old favourite.
Well
It's an
done,
old
mate.
favourite.
Well
It's
done.
a lucky
Well
guess.
done.
Lucky
Oh.
guess.
Shay's got a bit of coffee liqueur going on. What's your drink of choice this evening, folks? Hey, there's plenty going on out there, Fenton.
Oh, mate.
I've
got a funny feeling there's a bit of overlap with us today. Hey, what do you reckon we're going to talk about today? Jesus, have a crack.
There will be. Hey,
My
chuck it in
Lord.
the chat for us, folks. What's on your mind? What's on your mind? Listen, our number one menace is out again. We've got a few good things to chat about there, but also there's plenty going on. But listen, hey, folks, while you're here, I'll give you a quick tour. Well, should we do a quick tour? Fenton?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
a
it.
quick tour. Why don't you be the
I'll be the cameraman.
Oh yeah, you can be the cameraman or person.
Did we?
No, there, you can just walk around with it. All right, hold that. You hold that. Hang on, folks. I forgot to flick over to this here. So we're going to swap you over to this camera. over. Maybe we needed that. Maybe we needed that on while we were doing the tour. Yeah. Hey, tell me in the chat, folks. Tell me in the chat, do you want me to do the tour again with the sound on? Because I realised how or why the sound was not on. Is the sound back on right now? Let me know. We should have tested that one, Deb. But anyway, you're back.
We're back.
Yes, we are back. Sorry, folks. I didn't realise. Now, do you want us to quickly do the tour with the sound on? Yes, tour again. All right.
Tour again.
Take two, Fenton.
All right, take two.
Come on,
all
you
right.
be the cameraman.
Well, let's see if you can keep it exactly the same as it was before. All right.
Okay, here we are, folks. We are in a very amazing, awesome penthouse in Brisbane by the ARIA Group, Tim Forrester. Tim is one of our business partners we've been working with forever at Positive Real Estate. Come and have a check out this view. I'll show you the quick tour of the penthouse. This is the Brisbane skyline view, and never to be built out views of Brisbane City and the river and South Bank. Absolutely mind blowing. And another ARIA building over here. I got one in there actually too. I bought one in there.
I think that was the first one I saw. That's Upper House.
Upper House,
yes.
And an amazing shot down the river there. Absolutely mind blowing view. I'll take you a quick tour this way. This is the kitchen area. It's pretty nice. It's pretty special. But
just one question, Jace. How do you change a light bulb in this place? Have a look at the ceilings.
Yeah.
I reckon most people wouldn't be able to hit that with a bloody tennis ball.
They're 4.2 metre ceilings. 4.2. Crazy, amazing ceilings. And if you have a look at here, this is for Fenton and I later on when we kick on after Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. No, I don't think so.
Wow.
Anyway, amazing kitchen, like just absolutely spectacular. But check this out. This is another amazing view over here. And the Western Districts view. So you've got the city view over that way, and you've got the Western Districts view over this way. It's absolutely beautiful and not a bad place to live.
Jeez, look at the undulation over there. You'd think you're in the Pyrenees, wouldn't you?
The Alps or something. It looks it's not really that impressive, but there are a couple of hills there, and there's one of the other ARIA buildings there. Let you know a little secret. I've got my little 3-bedroom plus study penthouse being built over there. Should be ready for next year. Fenton will do Wealth, Wine and Wisdom there. So
right, overlooking the park, it's amazing. I love that view. I love that view.
Nice view. Make sure you don't make people motion sick at home, Fenton.
Sorry,
he's the cameraman.
I was getting a little bit excited.
Well, hopefully that was worth the tour, folks. And listen. Undulating. All right, well, there you go. Undulating vocabulary. Anyway, there you go. Well, we are in an amazing location tonight, so I'm very grateful.
In Adolf, did we cover it last week, or did you and Sam cover it last week?
No, you were away, I think maybe I said it this morning anyway, but I've just turned 50, folks.
So a big round of applause. Show your love in the chats. It's halfway to 100, but I think it's only a third of the way in life, isn't it?
Listen, I think it's the better parts yet to come. That is for sure. So I'm happy I've made it to 50 without too many problems. And
oh, that's gold.
One or two bumps along the way, Fenton. But the reason I think I made it to 50 is because along the way learnt one or two things, applied them, and that's part of the reason why we hang out and do this crazy Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, right?
100%.
Yeah. So you were down last week because you couldn't make Wealth, Wine and Wisdom and hanging out with some amazing business owners, folks. Property world, business world, finance, wealth. That's our jam. And, we connected years ago, 3.5 years ago on this show and many years before that to do, something special to support our community. And there's a bunch of you on tonight. Great to have all of you here. And, we do the old get together on a Friday afternoon, have a glass of wine
and what a place to do
talk
it.
Wealth.
It's a little bit more luxurious than our little studios, isn't it?
Well, it is. I'm feeling very special tonight. So, but we do have plenty to talk about tonight.
We do.
And, there's plenty going on, man. Right. And so, just for everyone listening in, most of you know this, but we have a a couple of sections in the show. Well, we try and keep the sections, going. But anyway,
we'll give our best crack at hitting all three of them today.
Well, we do, what's in the news, but we call that Decant the Week.
Decant the Week.
Yeah, we've upped the branding. We've fixed up the branding. We're going to get on to Decant the Week in a minute. Plenty of cool things to talk about, I think. But the other one's the number one menace. There's always something to talk about with our number one menace, folks, isn't there?
Don't even get me started. We should have the top 10 menace, I think, for every week.
We heard this one the other day. There's three menaces: the media, the politicians, and the institutions, which is the banking institutions. Anyway.
Yep.
And then things you should know. We're going to call it perfect pairing, right?
Perfect pair.
Yeah, perfect pair.
Problem solution.
Problem solution.
That's what we're going to judge.
So let's get into it.
Yeah.
What do you got? Do you want to kick off?
Mate, I think. We're going to be all over it.
Tee off, mate. Tee off. Let's put it up there, Fenton. What do you got for the folks online tonight? What is going on for you? And what have you noticed out there in the world of the news, Fenton? What is happening?
Well, what do you think it is, people? Like you guys already know, especially if you've tuned in for a little while. But I love this headline. Ronald Reagan liked to say, "You got to dance with the one that brung ya." For the independents, that's you got to dance with the one that brung you. So that's like if you're going to a dance, you got to dance with the person who brought you there.
Yeah, well, it's true. That's true. What's that got to do with investing, Fenton? Keep going.
So for the independents, that's looking so simple as the government's super crap changes arguably break an election promise. Well, it's not arguably; it's an election promise. So, look, you'd have to be living under a rock or taking our tips and not watching the news, which you'd be wise not to. Because
would this be worth playing our number one menace graphic?
Yeah, I reckon it almost has to.
This is what's going on, folks.
This is our number one menace.
Well, as grotty politicians are breaking promises and going for the grotty money grab, Fenton.
Mate, unbelievable. Like, remember the days where we said, we will fight our way out of it. We'll use good fiscal policy to get our way out of it. We'll claw tooth and nail to get out of it. No. We'll go for the wealthy.
Well, I mean, I heard it the other day, right? It was, and this is the bullshit that really just gives me the shits. The idea, the talk is that, you heard Albanese going, "Oh, listen, we not Albanese. What's his name?
Just call him politician."
Anyway, the politicians, they're all the same. And he would say, "Oh, we inherited this big problem, which is fine, but the politicians created it in the first place. It's 100%. Not like that any of them are innocent." And we'll talk about that in a minute. But they're going after our super, Fenton.
Going after the super. So there's three reasons why you should be worried. I can guarantee you I'm at least going to touch on two. But seriously, we need to be worried because at the moment they're pitching this as a wealthy tax. Apparently only 80,000. Last check it was 150,000. I don't think these guys know their numbers. I was actually watching Sunrise this morning. And the deputy, I'm pretty sure it was a deputy PM who was being interviewed, had no idea how this was going to be enforced.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: is that there's superannuation legislation, and then there's tax legislation. Two separate things.
Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Like, okay, keep going. I've got something to ask you. So, how are they going to enforce it? Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. Right now, 1.7 million you can transfer if you reach certain conditions, and that can be tax-free for a lifetime. Right, your reward for paying tax for a full life and saving into super, which is meant to be safe, right? And I believe it still will be. So here's the thing. First reason why you should be worried. How much in the chat? Whack it in the chat. What was the inflation rate over the last 12 months? What was it as a percent? Was it 4%? Was it 9%?
Give us a number.
16%? Well, whack a number in there.
There's some interesting news on the inflation I'm going to show later on. You might have some extra news too, probably on that. So what's the inflation number, folks? Because
and then
you've got to keep an eye on it.
Just go, okay, well, we're about to jump up to 1.9 million. And remember, the Labor government said...
Yeah, they were claiming it. We're let people get 1.9 million into super. Yep.
And it was just indexation working through. So here's what we need to be worried about for the slightly younger generation, 10 years. You take the inflation rate that we're in now, maybe normalise it afterwards, and you take $1 million and you times that by 5%, right? And how many years do you have to times that by until that doubles?
I know the answer. Does anyone
What's the
online
answer?
know the answer?
How many years do you have to times it by until that doubles?
Put that in
So
the chat.
we'll leave that open for a moment. I'll come back and address it in a moment, because here's the thing. They're pitching it right now as something that only hits the wealthy. Now, depending on what they do with indexation around this, mate, this is going to hit you. It's going to hit me. It's going to hit you. And unless you're retiring in the next few years, there's a likelihood that it's going to come into play, because
Bradley's saying 7. It's actually 15, right?
15 at 5,
Yep.
and it'll double.
7 is 12, and I think it's 10 is 7 is 10. Anyway,
7-Eleven.
7.
Get yourself a Slurpee.
Actually,
I've
don't
been
do math us here, have wine, Jason. All right, it's only one glass, folks. I promise.
I've been 18 days on the trot, mate. My brain's not
So
what
in
it
essence,
was.
they're saying, "Oh, it's only 3 million, and it's
Only
only for
3.
the rich people."
It's only
But
for the 3, depending on what they do with indexation.
yes,
So number one problem, depending on what they do, is it could be hitting all of us.
when
Right.
you extrapolate out over the next 15 years,
Yes.
let's say I've got 1.5 now.
Yep.
In 15 years' time, I'll have
3 million.
3 million.
Yes. If you're only earning 5%.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm planning on earning a lot more than that.
And here's the thing is
And
where
anyone listening to us will be having at least 1.9 minimum as a target.
well, that's our target.
Yeah,
now.
to
as
grow.
As soon as they adjust it, that's our baseline
Yep.
target.
Yep.
Right. So that's number one. Inflation. How are they going to deal with it? Maybe they'll link it. They'll dance around this. My biggest concern around this.
So you're saying, all right, here's the 3 million threshold, but they won't link that to
Well, this is what I
indexation.
worry about.
Yeah, well, well, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Well,
keep
because
going.
and so this is just another way of taking another tax where they just go, well, feed us more. Here's a tip: fire a few useless pricks. That's what happens in our world. And maybe they're not
Fire some
useless.
people aren't adding value.
Yeah,
Anyway,
fire some people aren't adding value.
yeah.
Maybe useless pricks.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harsh. So, number one. The second part is they have to adjust tax legislation in order to do this. So
So does that mean they've got to get it through somewhere, right? So
they've got to pass the legislation.
Yeah.
And on
both sides of the fence. Yeah.
Well, you've got the CIS legislation.
Yeah.
Then you've got the tax legislation.
So they said like 2025, right? 2025. Tell me, folks, in the chat, who's happy about potentially having to pay double the tax on your wealth in the future if you're successful? How's this? This is a success tax. Right?
It doesn't actually matter because the kind of strategies that we use, we get it up to
manage it.
free,
Yeah.
and then we've got other things that we do with that sort of stuff.
Hell
So
no. Yeah.
that's the third point. So I've skipped the second, but the third point is it's useless. It's actually useless because you and I are going to figure out different ways around it in order to be able to change the mix of assets. And yes, we won't be 15, but we'll probably be 25 or we'll be 30.
So
really
ultimately, what they're saying, like, because they said, "Oh, listen, by 2025, that'll fill the $2 billion gap in our budget," right? So it's a political maneuver. It's not really a budget repair maneuver.
Well, it's just another. The part that I worry about more is and this is the crack. Right. So tell me when you get charged capital gains tax. This is a brilliant one. Like this. If it was playing and I was in bed, I would have rolled out of bed laughing because I would have thought nobody would have tried and done this.
What's the
Not
question?
in a million years.
What's the question?
When do you get taxed?
When do you get
capital gains tax?
When, folks, if you're there and if you're feeling
what's the event? Well, there's a happy 50th. There you go. Happy
Jason.
birthday. There we go.
All right. The question is, when you sell your investment, so something happens, right? When there's an event, there's a disposal event, right?
So you sell it to your super fund, you sell it to someone else.
Yep.
What they're proposing is that you pay capital gains tax on a share based on a value increase in a year,
but you haven't disposed
without selling it.
How can you apply a tax like that?
So are they going to?
Outrageous! It's bullshit.
It's outright. Are they going to give you the money back next year when the share loses money? Like it's up one year, it's down the next.
Well, isn't that interesting?
Are they going to give you the money back?
You're going to get a refund.
Can you imagine how? I mean, accountants will be sitting there going, "Oh my God, can you imagine how much work this is going to create for us?"
But I mean, this was like Queensland having a crack with, and I'll talk about taxes in a second. Victoria's having a go. Did you know? Let's say, yeah. Anyway, So the Queenslanders.
What's Dan doing?
Yeah.
What's he doing?
There's a cheeky one. Let me know in the chat, folks. Do you know what Victoria's trying to sneak through? Now, listen, the Queenslanders had a cheeky go.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they had a cheeky go. You know what we're going to do? You know, this land tax thing, which is state-based, no, stuff that. We're going to make it nationally based, national calculation for Queensland.
Yeah.
And you know what's going to happen? You know, the rest of the country is going to give us all of their property data. And what happened? Like, actually, the New South Wales government went, you know, you can get it.
Victoria, South Australia, WA.
Piss off, right? So anyway,
I don't even think WA even chimed in. They were kind of like, well, we're actually not part of the country.
We're not part of the country. Anyway, so these ideas, like I've told this story before, folks. Many years ago, there was a special tax levied by the New South Wales government. You know what it was called? It was a special one.
Oh,
It was called an exit tax. Because everyone was making money out of real estate in New South Wales and they weren't getting any capital gains tax because that's a national tax. That's for the national government. The Queensland government said, the New South Wales government said, we want a piece of this.
We'll take an exit tax.
We're going to take an exit tax. Well, hang on. You can't be taxed twice. No. So you can't have a capital gain.
No, they've tried to bring in double taxation.
Double taxation, right?
And that's what, to a degree, this is, but it's almost triple taxation.
Well, it's ludicrous.
It's going, I'm going to charge you on a gain that you haven't received. That's like saying to you...
You're not going to get a refund if it goes back down. That's bullshit.
I might pay you $100,000 next year. So I'm going to tax you on it this year because maybe next year you might get that $100,000. So I'll tax you this year.
Look at Bryce saying, payroll tax. Don't get me started about payroll tax.
Why is it different for every state?
What's that bullshit about, right? You know, this is the thing. So, you know...
It's insane. My biggest worry
your takeaway on this is what's going to happen as it indexes or grows with inflation or doesn't?
But the bigger issue is because precedent. Law is all about precedent, right? So if they set a precedent where they can tax an unrealised capital gain, and maybe it's in super to begin with, but what's to stop them then taking that and going, you know what?
In America, you have to pay your capital gains tax yearly on your properties.
What's to stop that from coming through? This is, in my view, this is what they're aiming at.
This is the crack, the wedge.
And you can't let it happen. Like, you just can't. Like, because I reckon, and I don't know, the opposition's got to go in hard and go, you can't do this.
Well, I saw that. Well, you know, so, you know, part of the conversation is that, like, Chalmers wants to go to the next election daring the Liberals to take them on over this, right? So the Labor's going, listen, this is only for the wealthy, right? Because it's their voter base, right? Whatever it is. Now, I don't think either of them are particularly great, personally. Whether it's, you know,
it's pretty much, remember at school when you were picking teams for dodgeball?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you're down to the last 3 or 4, and you're like, I don't actually want to choose.
Well, it's like, you know, and
I was one of the 3 or 4 that I left most of the time.
At the end. Well, you know, and part of this is like, you know, folks, over the next 10 years, 4 million, the wealthiest 4 million Australians as a group are going to retire, right? Over the next 10 years. It's the largest shift of wealth in Australia's history. 4 million Aussies got the property upswing like for the last 40 years.
It's amazing.
Got the
and the policies are just going, we can't wait for you to die, so we'll tax you earlier.
Wait, look at this. Look at all of this money coming our way, right?
We'll just tax you on the gains in the meat. And by the way, that principal place of residence, we'll tax that too.
Well,
it sounds like, remember that song, The Tax Man, the Beatles? If you try to move, I'll tax your suit. Tax man. Do you guys remember that?
I don't. You're an aficionado when it comes to music, Fenton. But check out this. All right, here we go.
We've got a screen over here, just by the by. If you wonder where we're looking.
Screen, but folks, who has heard? Tell me in the chat. Who's heard of the windfall gains tax? All right. Well, you know, let's Let's come up with a new name for a tax, Fenton. Windfall gains tax. Who's heard of the windfall gains tax? Put it in the chat for me. All right. So the super tax is meant to come in when? 2025.
Supposedly. I don't reckon.
Again, like you said.
Surely it can't. It's because it's you know what we say about politicians? They go like this and then they do stuff over here.
Well,
and this is the part that I'm worried about. It's like they go, oh, well, it'll only affect the really rich. No, it opens a loophole that creates a taxation precedent that then goes, oh, well, we've done it there. So now we can filter that down and then it hits every single one of you in 10 or 15 years.
You wait and like you said, and part of, part of the presentations you've done before to our clients is like, over the last 10, 15 years, there's been like 10, 12 changes, right?
It's insane.
Yeah.
You can't keep up.
So check this out. Windfall tax. The
lotto tax?
Hey?
Is that for when you win the lotto?
No, it's not actually.
Oh.
Well, maybe it
windfall.
is. Maybe it is.
I'd love the definition of windfall.
Well, here's the definition right here. The Victorian government's having a go, right? So the Queenslanders had a go with land tax. The Victorian government's having a go. Yep, 50% tax. If you can't pay, we'll charge you interest on it. That's it. Yeah, Brendan's on it. I think, hey, Brendan, you brought it up this morning, and check out this.
Brendan's all over it. Yeah.
This was proposed about a few months ago. Right?
So what is it like?
All right. So on the edge of cities, folks. On the edge of cities, as cities expand, what happens to the farmlands? All right, tell me in the chat, what happens to the farmlands? What happens to the land on the edge of cities as cities expand?
You're fucking joking. Then you're not going here, are you?
Listen
is
up.
that where they're going?
The Victorians.
Ridiculous.
And this is going to play into a fucking disaster unfolding right now. Like, and I had a fucking full rant this morning, and I'm going to give it another. I'm going to give it another nudge this afternoon.
Yeah, go for your
right.
life.
So here we go.
Needs it.
Rezoning. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So
no. Oh,
dude. Check
this
this out. Read this
comes.
shit here, right? I'm telling you right now, the Victorian government has said, hey, listen, if you rezone, if we rezone your land,
of which you've got no control.
Yeah, if we rezone your land and by the by, there's a windfall to you, we're going to tax the shit out of you for it.
Wow.
Dude, check this out. But this is rezoning of land that results in a taxable uplift. You don't even have to sell it. Again, here's the thing.
But a taxable uplift, because what's a taxable uplift?
Well,
this is where you got to be really...
the value of the uplift of the land,
really
because owned by that person, group, or subject to that rezoning is taken into account.
Could it be a principal place of residence?
No, it cannot. So there is some exemptions, by the way.
Well, no, but they're thinking about taxing that too.
Yeah,
you got to look at how this is where I think we need to be very, very sharp about who we vote for going forward, because this
they're having a crack. Look at this. So on the edge of cities,
it'll stagnate development.
It's going to destroy development, right?
Because why would you bother?
Well, this is the thing.
Why would you lobby dickheads and spend tens of thousands of dollars contributing to campaigns to lobby them to rezone something that they should have rezoned 15 years ago,
so what would you
only
do?
To pay tax?
What would you do, folks, if you knew that they were going to, let's say you didn't have the money, they were going to rezone your land, or there was a possibility of rezone, under Brendan, I love you, Brendan. Like it's crazy, right? 500 grand or more, a tax rate of 50%. Like, check this out.
New tax rate.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a new tax rate. That's amazing. Now they pulled out at 50. Where'd that come from?
65. There's a tax rate of 62% if you go between 100 and 500.
Oh, that's the second lowest tax. That's the second highest tax rate. You know who's only taxed higher than that?
Who?
Children.
Well, so they should, those little anyway, like, you can only laugh, right, folks? You can only, you can get a bit pissed off about it. You have to be smart on this stuff. Folks, you live on the edge of a city, and what would you do? So, Fenton, I know you live in.
That's a poor tax.
Yeah. So
It's actually a poor tax,
So
isn't
let's
it?
do this.
How do you rob from the poor and give to, well, let's not say the rich, but just the people who really don't need it?
Mate.
That's an amazing. Like
It's-
they must have been so drunk when they thought about that.
I don't know,
and
but
one of them,
they didn't run it by anyone with a brain, right? Okay, so Fenton, you live on a nice spot down the Mornington Peninsula,
I
right?
know.
You see people like up the road from you getting rezoned. Now, if your land went up from, I don't know, call it 2 million to 5 million, do you have a lazy 1.5 million in liquid cash laying around?
Well, of course,
as
Jason.
in
I
my pocket.
keep that in my wallet. That's why
Right.
I've got the air tag on there, just so I can find it whenever I lose
so
it.
folks, like, think about this.
Christ, that's
Fenton's
obscene.
there at home, barely getting by as a farmer,
Mm.
right? Because farmers don't make a
Well,
squillion.
and I'm not very good at farming.
Right, you got too many.
I've got
rabbits in
so
your
many
place,
weeds.
Anyway, you're not a good example, but anyway, play along here, Fenton. You've
Doing
been,
my best.
You've been growing some
yeah.
pumpkins.
I'm doing well.
Um,
Biodynamic.
And now you have to cop up 1.5. And like Brendan said, don't worry. If you can't pay it, we'll charge you interest until you do.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Can I get
Right.
cash rate minus 4%, please?
So what? So what would you do if you knew that was coming? Would you go, oh, I can't? I'm up for my land be rezoning so we can.
I think
it
I'd
has
go
to be
and-
land over 5 acres. Yep.
I think I'd move to
or
a different
would
country.
you-
But 5 acres is nothing.
But would you go, I'm going to do everything possible to not have rezoning done, right?
Yeah.
So
You know what? I'm going to ring up all of my native friends and I'm going to ask them about heritage. Overlays, I'm going to find a tiny little spider
find it.
or a little slug that exists only
I
within.
remember having a bat on one of my development sites. No, I'm not kidding you.
I remember this story.
Fucking 12 months in a fucking bat study. Anyway, it was in the middle of Sydney. Don't get me started.
They
on
used to
that.
call him Batman. It was unbelievable.
But listen, all we can do is laugh about this right now. But this is bullshit. This is dumb. It's stupid. Because I can tell you what's happening. The old over here with taxes, Fenton. Check out this.
But it's the flow-on effect, though. Like it sounds good in isolation. It's like, oh yeah, people are making a lot of money, and you know what, farmers, geez, they really bloody deserve their pound of flesh on it. But here's the other. Like, let's just go conspiracy theory for a moment. Can you allow me to draw a unicorn? Can I draw a unicorn?
Fenton?
So let's go. Who had potentially? I'm not going to say and don't answer because we'll go to jail. So. Who had a lot of involvement allegedly with China recently? You can put it in the chat because that means you can lead it. So then, who would have the greatest amount to gain by land being freed up and being able to snaffle up that? Just imagine, like, if you had those sort of side deals going along in arable land, like beautiful land that could be used or rezoned, or who would have the money to be able to develop mass these sorts of places? So this is one you can answer, Jace. How long does it take between rezoning and actually realising the wealth behind the rezoning?
Listen, it can take up to 10 years.
10
a
years.
decade,
10 years.
maybe 20
That's
years.
a lot of interest.
Well, but also think of this, right? Think of this. You're a publicly listed company. You're running a publicly listed company, Andy, and you go, here's an idea, folks. Here's our business model that's been super successful for the last 50 years in Australia, right? We buy on the edge of cities and then we petition the government to rezone and turn it into something, right? That's what they do. That's how we get fucking houses.
Yep.
Like, that's how stocklands, that's how things get delivered to our country. So fucking Victoria and all their wisdom going, you know what? These publicly listed companies that actually do something about delivering properties to the market.
Infrastructure, property tax, road tax.
Mate, they build schools, they build hospitals, they do all of it, right? Stocklands is one that comes to mind. Just think of them. And now the uplift off the bat,
Gone.
year one, not the thing's not done yet, is 50% uplift tax Day
No,
one.
No, it just
Like,
can't.
how is a
can't.
public
It's
listed company going to justify that, mate?
But it's just, I mean,
Fucking ludicrous.
it's just even for your average punter, I know many people who have held on to land far longer than what they should have in the hope that it got rezoned, which you probably should have, right? Because there's not enough accommodation in Australia to house all of the people. But
Let's talk about that in a minute.
so here's did you know, allegedly, not sure about this, it may be complete bullshit because it's not my area. I heard that they're changing approvals in subdivision from shire-based in Victoria to state-based. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this. Somebody out there might be able to tell me that, but that would make a lot of sense if that was the case.
Oh,
well, because they've gone from the shire used to control the subdivisional approval.
In New South Wales, they did that, or Sydney, because the local councils
moved too slow.
Moved too slow.
But now, if they then in Victoria, that's the
looking
state, they'll just go bang, approvals right across the board, revenue.
Looking for the money grab. But even if they do that, what happens? You add a 50% uplift tax to a development.
We have
Folks,
to sell.
Tell me, what happens when the underlying value of the land goes up? The cost goes up for the developer. Let's just call it 25 to 50%. What happens, Fenton?
Well, I sit on it for a lifetime.
Or who has to pay that price? Because the developer's not going to pay it. Who's going to pay it? The person who ends up owning a piece of real estate. So the price of a house is going to go from 600 to 800.
But then we end up with little boxes again.
Well, you end up with this.
You end up living in a, those little, like a matchbox, and they push out the bed like that, and you go back into the wall.
And it ain't going to be the land developers. Like,
well, you take this place as an example. Like the other week when I was up here, I was like, geez, they don't make apartments like this in Melbourne. They just don't.
Well, they do, but it's $12 million. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they can't afford to.
But if they pass this sort of legislation, then you can't. You literally cannot afford to build reasonable accommodation or nice accommodation.
And you cannot afford. This is the problem. The government's got their fucking head up their ass, right?
So then we end up with a Victorian shanty town.
Well, where are they going to build? So what will happen is they'll end up trying. The only things that'll work will be cheap shit things. Cheap shit things, right? So this is the future we're staring down now.
That should be their promotional campaign, shouldn't it?
Cheap shit things in Victoria. Come live here, right?
New tax.
Mate,
gives you more affordability for new cheap shit things.
You know, it just blows me away.
I missed that. I didn't even know that was coming about.
Well, I mean, and listen, folks, everyone listening at home, like we are in the middle of, like I've been saying it for over a year, maybe even 2 years, Andy. You know
That's
this.
3. You've been saying it ever since we.
Ever since we've been hanging out.
And to be fair, when you first started touting it, I'm like, come on, give it a rest,
mate. And and this is what I was saying this morning. Like, those politicians don't get out of their little boxes and go to an open home on a weekend. You try and go to an open home on a weekend and rent something that you would be happy to have your family there. Mate, it's not happening. And if you are paying through the eyeballs for it.
Yep.
You go and try and buy a nice house, mate. We are at, so the listings, so the resales, like second-hand resale listings. Check this out. The stats here, right, folks? People selling their properties that are second-hand, right?
Can't stop progress. I love that, Mike.
Mate, I tell you.
I'm not sure whether that was supportive or whether you've just taken a job for the local government.
I think he was tongue-in-cheek. But look at this, Fenton. Like, Melbourne right now, 27% less.
Let's whack that one up on the big screen.
27% less, right? 27% less listings for sale this year than there was last year, right? Let's not underestimate, in a city of Fenton, 6 million people, there's 6,000 properties for sale. Right?
It's pretty low.
Mate, it's record low.
Record low.
Record low. Now let's just look at this. And what's coming?
This is where the tax is so brilliant because they go, well, nobody's selling property, so let's tax stuff that's not sold.
Mate.
It's brilliant. Like it's smart.
So
it's smart.
So let's have a look at this. What's under construction in Melbourne right now? This is medium density. You'd add a couple of thousand houses, but we know that houses have zero chance of supplying the market, like zero chance. You can't build enough houses. It's not possible. You don't have enough land in Melbourne registered. Don't get me started there, right? You can't do it.
Can't pour a slab.
Check this out.
I can't build a shed.
Mate, you can't get anything done. Check out this. 12,000 to 4,000. Just do the math on that. What's the decrease? That's a 60% decrease over the next 2 years. 27% decrease in second-hand listings for sale. A 60% decrease already off the worst construction supply we've ever seen. That's a 75% decrease from.
You know what we need, Jace?
Dude,
We need more
no one's got anywhere to live.
subdivision. We need more subdivision so we can create more housing.
Guess how many people came into Melbourne? How many students just came to Melbourne in the last month alone?
I can see it painted. I can see it painted everywhere. Like, you've got to admire it. Like, if somebody's actually think tanking this in the background, it's genius. Like, it's sinister, but it's genius.
I don't think they're thinking anything, mate.
No, but it's brilliant because they go, well, we didn't know that there was a shortage because we were so focused on, making our own money over here. We didn't know that there was a shortage coming. And now everyone's been saying there's a shortage and we're like, holy shit, there is actually a shortage. So how do we fix the shortage? Well, no, we need more money. Like, let's focus on what's really important. We, as a government, need more money.
What was the promise? What was the promise, folks? What did they promise? What was the word? It wasn't like
no tax reform.
The intention.
Oh.
It's the government's intention to add how many more dwellings over the next.
Oh, dwellings. I thought you were talking about tax because they were saying they weren't going to increase taxes.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. On the flip side,
I think it must have been current taxes. We didn't read the fine print.
There was like 1 week. There might have been 1 day that the government spent on this or the media spent on this. I don't know why the media is not fucking jumping up and down like
They got no idea.
They don't know what to look at, right? Do you know why? Because the average Aussie doesn't understand. You know what the average Aussie understands and clicks on for media? My home loan went up, which is fine. That's shit, right? Because I used to pay $500 a week, and now I pay $1,000 a week. That
Well, wait
sucks,
until they subdivide
right?
your house as well. Jesus, that's going to be a nasty surprise.
Mate.
Not only have you come off interest only, you've gone to P&I and you got a tax 66%, 60%. Sorry, or 50%.
We have. I mean, check out this, mate. Like already,
It's insane.
But here's what I want to show you, and this is kind of, let's put in perspective because you don't see the perspective, right? See this? That's our biggest supply ever in Australia's history of medium density properties. Can you see the houses here? Can you see houses? Houses, right? So in that period, let's say from 2013 to 2022, how many more people have been added to the Australian population?
Ooh, don't know the number.
2 million people.
2 million.
So have a look. Like,
some would say is that all, but
mate,
that's a lot.
But like, check out.
It's 10%.
Where's my little
Well,
graph
a
here?
little bit under 10%.
I've got it. But like, so this amount here, this 25,000 extra homes, which was over and above normal. Guess what? They've all choked. We haven't been able to deliver them. Builders have gone broke. Extension, we haven't so. The idea of throwing money at a problem has now made it worse because check this out.
Well,
Let me just say this. Like, just
it is and it isn't. But yeah, all right.
Over the last 10 years, we have never been able to build more than 83,000 houses in 1 year, ever. Yeah, ever. So here's an idea. Let's chuck a stimulus at the economy and get 100,000 houses approved in 1 year. And we've never been able to build 100,000 houses ever. But not only that, in normal history have we ever been able to build them, Andy. In the middle of a pandemic, the worst supply issue the planet's ever seen, The government stimulates the construction economy,
And the cost is
and now everyone wonders why we haven't got any houses. Like, did anyone think about that? Like, they don't, because they've never built a house. They're idiots. Like I mean,
Allegedly.
seriously.
allegedly.
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 Anyway, I think they are.
Allegedly.
But anyway,
That's an opinion piece.
it's an opinion piece. But Fenton, those 25,000 houses have been kicked down the road now. This has done that. Okay, it's gone down. And do you know what's going to happen? Those 25,000 will be completed, if you're lucky, over the next 3 years sporadically. So we went to a peak of approvals, but delivery choked, and now it is made builders go broke. Our systems, there's no land supply. It's a disaster. We have a disaster, folks. We've got a disaster on our hands of a supply chain. And check this out,
Are you going to run for government?
mate. I'm going to give it a nudge.
I reckon.
Check this out.
With
Actually, Fenton, actually, Fenton, it was 5 million. 5 million more people in that period of time, or close enough.
It's
That
crazy,
decade.
isn't it?
There you go. So we couldn't build any properties, and we added 5 million more people to the population, and now we have the worst supply we've ever had in history.
It's brilliant.
Why isn't anyone talking about this?
It's brilliant. They
Right?
are. They are, Chase. They are. They understand there's a shortage, and the only way to get like more in is to have more subdivisions. So let's make more money from subdivisions. We'll tax it.
Let's motivate people to have subdivisions, which is not going to motivate anyone. to have
No,
subdivisions.
it's well. Apparently, they don't have a choice.
Well, and
Imagine that.
Like,
All of a sudden, just somebody
me-
going. All of a sudden, you're worth $100,000 more. Give me 50,000 of it. It's insane.
it's insane.
I love it. But layer that, and I always have to layer it because we're having a bit of a laugh with it, but it's comical. But you take that capital gains tax. Remember right at the beginning, I said
All
the
they're
thing
trying
that
to
I'm
do
most
is fix
scared
the
about.
budget. They don't give a shit about the supply.
But what they do is they create precedent legislation that becomes very, very difficult as a country later on.
Difficult to undo.
Because
Once
there's a precedent
Once it's in there.
to tax somebody before a capital gains tax event has occurred. Now they're going to try and tax you on windfall before the capital gains tax has
Hey, the
occurred.
Victorians are like, hey, this is a great idea. I'm in. Let's tax them. Right? This is bullshit.
And this is where it's scary though, because we're talking about this. It sounds obvious, doesn't it?
Well, to you and me, maybe, but for the average Aussie, no
I'm
one,
just
no one
asking
even knows
you,
it's going on.
if you're having a conversation with your mates or friends at a barbie and stuff like that, is this actually coming up? Because this is scary, because this means that there's the potential for that legislation to go to standardized shares. Your property uplifts in X amount. And that stops people from being able to generate wealth over a period of time. It actually creates a massive wealth divide.
Well, I mean, the wealthier work a way around it. They always do, right?
You got to figure out ways around it. But the haves in Australia, we've still got a reasonable society that if you really want to give it a crack, like you've got potential. We're small enough as a country. We've got a lot of legislation, but you can still do it. Like the Great American Dream, they used to call it. There's still an Australian dream. They bring in legislation like that. It really does. It makes it almost impossible to break through, because how do you generate wealth without getting taxed through the eyeballs? It's basically saying wherever your starting position is, that's it. You can't. No. Oh, are you married up? Well done. Good choice. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You fucking snuck past. But outside of that, like it really does put it's a wealth tax. But it's the possibility to become wealthy. That's what I mean.
It's a possibility tax, really, at the end of the day.
Possibility tax.
Yep. Yeah, and Alison's right. Like, it feels like it's like, half truths and conspiracy theories and whatever. But really, and that's the challenge right now for many people to really understand what's going on, and when it's with their money, right? Because you and I both know, especially with super, the average Aussie doesn't believe it's actually real. right? So they don't care about it, and probably until they're 50 or 60, if you're lucky. And then it's like, and then
But then you can't get it in.
Yeah, and what do they say? What happened to my super? I thought I was, blah,
It literally
blah, blah.
becomes like a bank, and you're trying to put money in there, going, look, I've got a few mates out here with guns that if you don't let me in, they're going to go,
Mate.
You can't get it in fast
Crazy.
enough.
Crazy.
But then they keep changing the laws. And here's the damage that they do. But if you jump back to my screen,
flip it
because
over
I
to you.
did have a little bit of a, well, here was one thing. I thought, well, I was wondering where they were going to spend all of that money. I think I figured out where they're actually putting it.
Where are they
They're putting it in Dubai, $2.4 billion Atlantis, the Royal Brakes, the mold. They're building some incredible stuff over there. Geez, so I'm thinking that maybe they're investing our money over there. Maybe it's part of the future fund. I don't know. But I was thinking about it, and without your overlay and without a political bias, I was thinking, wouldn't you love to have this bloke back in charge for a chairman of the future fund?
Yeah.
One of the best performing funds that you'll actually find out here. Wonder why. The government's not doing too great. But, old Costello, it made me think of, and it's not a Liberal or Labor thing. It's a Hawke, it's a Keating. Bring back people with brains,
with vision, with like they wanted to make something of the country, not just shit in their own nest.
and they all had
Feather
the
their own
good,
nest.
the bad, and the ugly.
They all
within
do.
there.
I mean, no one's perfect. You and me ain't perfect, that's for sure.
But it wasn't election to election.
Yeah.
It literally wasn't these 2 and 3 year visions. It was far greater than that. And the more that I'm looking at what's dropping at the moment, the more worried I become about, well, what's it going to be like for our kids?
Well, Matt, you and I have said many times before.
Mine are younger than yours too, so they're probably going to be worse off.
And that's why we're so passionate about people, taking as much control in charge of their own wealth as possible. Because if you think the government's going to look after you in retirement, or the great thing about Australia is you won't end up in abject poverty on the streets unless you choose to be there. So that's the great thing about our country. We do have some amazing infrastructure. And, even though I squawk and carry on about, some of the taxes we do pay, I'm very happy we've got schools and hospitals and stuff like that. Like, that's great. But things like this, like these grotty grabs at the edge of, I call it success taxes, right?
The problem is it's getting peppered now. And again, it's government. It's not Liberal Labor. It's actually government.
It's governments, yeah.
And the more that people start to actually go, you know what? It's not them versus them. It's actually they, and that's actually now more politically correct than ever, actually, to be fair.
They, them.
So they, them are no separate. They all work together. That's the brass tacks. And let me get, let's understand this. They've never worked together better than what they do right now, because the policy difference is so close.
The difference is so close. Yeah.
So it's them. And the ability to go, no, you fucked that up in the last 4 years. We shouldn't actually listen to that. It's actually, well, who's got the better policy for the next 15, 20 years? And we've talked about political ambivalence a lot. And I'm looking at it now and I'm going, when you go to polls and things nowadays,
well,
you've
I think
got
most
to be
politicians, the political parties prefer that you don't pay attention. Because it's the donkey drop. If you keep it going, every few years it changes because everyone wants to change, something like that. It doesn't stray too far from the centre. That sort of stuff, for you and I, we think that people should be paying attention. But, yeah. What else? I'm going to quickly do this one, mate.
I've got a few years worth of content that I can go into from here.
There's so many things. Something that's interesting. There we go. Inflation down 1%, according to a media source.
Well, I've got the RBA stuff on that, or actually, no, the ABS on that. Yeah, headline versus. So inflation's actually down. It is.
Yeah. And you and I talked about this last time we caught up. we could feel it already in the economy, and like it's already done, right? So it's already turning, right? So we all know that. I mean, you and I aren't out there buying a jet ski, when our interest rates are 7%, right? That's not happening. Why? There's going to be 2 more rate rises to go because that's what happens. It's a kind of a leading measure, and they always overshoot.
Yep. Always.
But already there's conversations going in 2025. There's going to be 5 rate cuts.
That scares me a little bit.
Well, Bill Evans, right? And he's not a bad commentator. He's part of the bank, Westpac, but he's been pretty good over the years. He's probably one of the only ones I'd give some credit to, But he's saying, mate, it's just how it's going to happen. He said, there's probably 2 more up. 2023 is going to stay sideways for a bit. You might get a little bit down in 24, and then by 25 they're going to cut it by another %. So, like inflation, whatever, interest rates, blah, blah, blah. I mean, arguably at the end of the day, 6% still a pretty cheap interest rate. 5% is a better number. But by the end of 25, we're going to be back in the 4s and 5s for interest rates. That's the call.
Well, that's
so
and that's cash rate. It's not necessarily saying that's where bank rates are going to be, but yeah,
the cash rate go to 4%, cut to 3%.
I reckon we're going to have multi-tiered lending by then. I think we'll have risk lending,
which is where I knew you would go, because this is the future is, right? The future is, folks, and this is the thing.
The greater the data.
Yep. The future is not about, Andy.
That's an amazing slide to how to lie with statistics, just by the way. Like whack up mine at the same time, because I've literally got the consumer price index. And look what happens if you just went back another 3 years. Look at the difference in that graph.
Yeah, up you go, right?
Look at the difference in that graph.
Well, if you squidge it or you elongate it, it makes a difference.
On yours, it's minimized, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's actually down as much.
Yeah.
On mine, it's going, well, hang on. That was a roller coaster up. But look how quickly it's actually coming down. And just for...
And that's headline data, right? So that's
this is the headline. It's not the core, it's the headline. The core I've actually got over here. Australia doesn't look as good on core. As a matter of fact, Australia's a little bit behind on core. But on headline, we didn't go up anywhere near as fast as Europe's in the red, United Kingdom's in the grey. Funny that. United States in the green. Hasn't been in the green for a long time. The old United States.
I think
$26 trillion. I reckon the greens are on colour, but Euro Asia in the red. But just goes to show how that graph really distorts what the reality is. But 100%, mate. Look at we're cascading down, and we talked about it about being transient over a period of time. And as the world sort of comes back online, things will become cheaper because they start moving. The world starts moving.
But this is the thing, right? So and this is always. And I'm a pretty simple fellow. I didn't study economics and those sorts of things. I don't really.
It's probably the reason you get it right.
But I saw some of the information. All right, well, housing up 27% or something like this, and I'm like, which person anywhere in Australia said, yeah, no, fuck it, I'll pay 20%, 27% more if I don't need to, right? Like, I mean, I don't understand that's fucking bullshit. Who said, oh yeah, no problems, 25% up for fresh groceries? Like, who said, oh yeah, no problems, I'll pay that? It's not consumer, it's not consumption. That's everyday stuff, right? It's not like you're not going out and go, yeah, it's frivolous spending. It's bullshit, right? So it's outside. Like, people aren't buying a fucking television. They're not buying a television.
Well, they did when the government gave them the money.
Well, the government started it.
And you know where that money went? That went straight to Shanghai. One of the largest. Amazing. How to keep money.
Don't start that, Fendon.
Well,
where did it go? Well,
straight offshore.
Straight offshore. Well, that's exactly what happened. what happened? People had more money than they should have had. They were like, fuck it. Well, I've been locked down for a while. I deserve a new television. They jumped online and they bought the bastard.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, online spending and online consumption went up because
you've just got
people
to
had
look.
more money than Australians had. And I don't know if this is true today, but in 2022, we had more money in savings account than we'd ever had in Australian savings history, Andy. Australians had more money in savings account than they had.
And more widescreen televisions.
Yeah. And where did it come from? The government gave it to us. You beauty. Thanks, government. What do people do? They put it in their bank and they said, fuck it, I'll buy a new,
Straight off
new
the mortgage
television.
rate. Yeah.
They didn't say, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll put it in my super. I'll invest it in
No,
property.
they took it out of the
I'll buy some
super.
shares.
They allowed them to take it
They
out.
took it out of their super. Shit, mate. Anyway, mate, what do we got to end on? Because, again, time flies when you're having fun. I'm having fun anyway, folks. Hopefully you guys are having fun at home. But anyway, Fenton and I are. We're going to kick on a bit. Mate,
look,
what do you got?
I could top and tail it while you're trying to find something. So
I got a quick quiz for you.
if you've got something good for us to finish on, all
Quick
right.
quiz for you.
Yeah, let's go for it.
How many people?
I won't look there.
No, net number of population increase from low to high in the last 18 months.
Sorry, what was the question?
Net increase
Yep.
of Australia's population, immigration,
Oh, immigration
in the last 18 months.
In the last 18 months. Net increase. Well, 15,000 minimum would have been the last month. Net increase. Did we fuck off? Did a lot of us go, you know what, I'm out of here? No, they didn't. They probably came back.
A lot of people came back.
So I'm going to go net increase somewhere between 80 and 150,000.
No, you're 5 times off the mark. Net increase, brother. Check it out. Negative 200 or thereabouts to positive 300,000. There's 500,000.
Oh no, we're going from the increase, but I'm still a way out, aren't I? Jesus.
500,000 people have come back. So the
people
net
are coming
increase from zero is close to 300,000. Close to 300,000. And that's only getting started. Put that on record shortage of housing, record existing listings being listed. Mate, we're like it's crazy times.
It's a good thing that this is going down.
What do you got? What have we got to finish with? Give us some wisdom, Fenton, because we've had a lot of wine.
This is, it's true. But this is something which you and I have been chatting about, and I was focusing on this about 2 or 3 years ago, which is the global shipping prices, because it's the logistics of getting wheat, water.
The value of logistics. Yeah.
Water.
The last
Jesus
mile.
Christ, it's more expensive to get water around than petrol. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, logistically, water is more expensive to get around than petrol. Figure that one out. You buy it for $5 in a tiny little bottle. It's ludicrous.
Mad.
As opposed to put it out of a tap. Number one way to put more money in your budget. Anyway, so container shipping.
Listen,
costs.
by the way, we've been told by the boss to hang on, lipstick theory, Alison. We've been told by the boss to drink some water. Anyway,
can we find a win?
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Brendan, you should run for politics, mate. Just double. All you need to do is now double or triple the price to come in. Anyway, from like $10,000 or $5,000 to $15,000, Andy. That's Brendan. You should write into the politicians, mate.
Mate, 100%. Well, he's been pretty active today.
Yeah, I love Brendan.
There's a gold star.
Yep.
Participation awards that don't work. So container shipping costs. So the cost of actually getting stuff somewhere, right? Outside of air freight. Air freight, I think in certain areas was actually cheaper because they were able to fly around a little bit better.
For smaller ones, right? Yeah. But by and large, most of our stuff arrives by ship.
And this will take but have a look at this. This is in terms of US dollars in the hundreds of thousands, right? So
Talk us
global
through it. Tell us what
shipping
we're looking
prices.
at. Tell us what we're looking at.
So basically, we're looking at the shipping costs, right? By how much it actually costs you. So I won't take you through the base level fundamentals.
Can you scroll in so we can see the chart at the bottom?
Yep, I can chip it up a little
there
bit
you
like
go.
that.
What's the year? So in the middle of the pandemic,
Went off the charts, but it was already rising well beforehand. But the other thing that happened is it slowed
yeah,
to almost a stop.
yeah.
You know, they're out of Shanghai. There were super tankers just parked.
So we're saying right now we're back to what? We're close to.
We're close to your long-term averages, where these things should then end up being based on industry efficiency, workplace efficiency, petrol.
So what you're saying,
diesel.
this is a leading measure. Would you say it is a leading measure?
It's 100% a leading measure
cost.
to the cost of things, but it can be a leading measure,
Right.
and it'll depend, because people need to then drop their prices, because if you go, all of a sudden
Who's going to drop their prices?
shipping-
I'm not going to drop mine.
and so I think in property it's going to be forced,
Yes.
right? Because people cannot
It's
based on
it's
what
already
we
forced
earn.
now. It's already forced by the interest rates.
Right.
So we've had
It's-
at least a 5% reduction
So
on the price that people can pay for property.
So it's sort of demand is high, but supply is low. So supply is actually pulling down the cost.
Access to funding is low. But this is the thing. It's a really interesting thing, right?
But the guys here, so the ARIA team would likely be going, well, hang on. No. We know shipping costs have come down. We're not paying that for concrete.
Yeah.
We're not paying that for windows. We're not paying that.
It's yet to flow through.
And this is that leading measure. Not all of it will flow through, because most people will try and make up margin and hold that margin as long as possible.
Back the margin from
that they lost.
Yeah.
That they lost, which is normal.
Which is natural.
But that spike is massive, and
It's huge.
It's absolutely
Well,
it's ridiculous.
Ludicrous. Well, we've had
commodity shipping prices are in the blue, right? And commodity shipping prices. Here's a little pop quiz. What's the difference, or why do you think commodity shipping prices are lower than container shipping prices?
What's a commodity? Everyone knows commodity, like coal, iron.
Yeah.
Shit we dig out of the ground.
Interesting question. Reasonably obvious, right? The world needs commodities to flow around, and even though
do they forward book and forward buy those?
they also
contracts?
forward book,
Yeah.
forward buy.
Yeah.
But not the shipping costs.
Not the shipping costs.
No,
Maybe people I wonder because
because diesel goes up, but the shipping companies will go, well, we'll have forward contracts on diesel.
Well,
So
often
it happens later.
you get shipping contract on the diesel.
So the shipping companies
forward by US dollar, so you can pay in US dollar. Yeah.
So everything's and that'll be half a year to a year out.
Yeah.
So as we see this happen now, 2023, based on your inflation figures that you showed before, we should start to see things dramatically decreasing
So
costs.
2023 should see things kind of like normalize to the new normal, not go back to what was, but kind of settle into what is.
And this is the thing, is I think that people also forget that we've actually been in a pandemic. Like
Yeah.
people forget.
Yeah. It's like, what?
We're back out. Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
were locked up
Well-
for 12 months.
Well, I think that's one of the good things about human nature is we do have short memories, but it's actually one of the bad things about human nature. We've got short memories, right? So we move on and we're like, okay, we move on fast, but
and we do.
yeah,
And this is going to flow through.
yeah. Well, it's interesting already. So we've got major builders in Queensland who've already come back. So this is one of the only a handful of builders that we work with. They give the triple guarantee, fixed price construction contract, 0 changes.
Because the price is set here.
Yeah.
The price is set here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
They're gonna make.
They will make everything they lost
Yeah.
by
the
setting in now.
Well, the smart ones know it, right? The smart ones know it. The ones that live paycheck to paycheck are still kind of like, oh shit, I don't know what's coming. The smart ones that know what's coming, right?
Yep.
Are gonna crush it. Are
Yep.
gonna kill it. Yep.
Well, they know it's going to come back through. Everything's going to drop all of a sudden.
But,
Mate, brilliant.
And part of this is like, so I ask property investors all the time, like what you said before. Hey, listen, your rents have gone up. Are you going to drop them when the interest rates go down? I've never met a property investor who ever drops them.
And here's the thing: so I don't think they're going to go down far enough.
Well,
to cause it to be a necessity.
No, they won't.
I reckon it's actually going to.
I mean, listen. Other than
I kind of wish I was in your field for a few more years, but
other than the pandemic, I mean, listen. When 6% for 20 years of my life was fucking cheap. For 20 years of my life, 6% was cheap.
I had somebody come back to me just yesterday and go, "Hang on, I was paying 18%."
Mate, you know, on some of my loans still, because I'm a complicated person to lend to, like I'm 7.5% even fucking without the pandemic, right? And I'm still making money. The thing is, most people like who are having a challenge with it, the first loan they ever got was 2%, right? You or I, we've had loans at 8%, 9%, 11%. My first loan was 11%. I'm like, what, 7%? I don't give a shit.
And it is the biggest problem, isn't it? It's like, and you said it ad nauseum. I said it ridiculous. Oh, I actually didn't say it ad nauseum. I said it would never get there. You said it'll get there, but it won't last. I just said, just don't even believe it'll get there. If at the
well, look at this. There you go, Alison. Hopefully, we're adding to your happy Friday.
I wish I was looking at all of these comments.
Read the thing on the screen. I think Fenton's had a few too many sips, Alison.
It was like that game I used to play. What it was, Bond. Did you ever play that as a drinking game?
No.
It was like you watched James Bond, and somebody said somebody drank on Bond, and then somebody drank on 007. Anyway, Alison,
Fenton, bring it home. Finish with a piece of wisdom. What have we got, Fenton? What have we got?
So the perfect pairing.
The perfect pairing. What do you got for us? Perfect pairing, folks. Let's do one of our little thingies. Perfect pairing. Where is it? There it is. What do you got, Fenton?
Cost of distribution is starting to come back down.
Yes.
Normalization of trade around the world, right? So things are now airlines. Dare I say it? I've had a few cancelled flights recently, and this one wasn't great.
Don't go there, Fenton.
But the cogs are starting to turn.
Yep.
I think that we thought that the pandemic would hit hard and fast, and it didn't. It hit medium. It didn't even hit fast. The politicians reacted super quick and really aggressively. But the effects of the pandemic are slow and medium.
You're right. It's been 2 to 3 years before actually the effects have been flowed through.
And so what's happened is they put policy in place for it happening instantaneously.
Yes. Yeah.
No, they didn't. They just threw money.
They just threw money at the problem. That's what.
Well, let's call it policy.
Is it?
And now have created massive spikes in my market, in share markets, bond markets. They've created
100,000 houses approved, but they're not going to be delivered. Yep.
So the perfect pair on this is you then look over the horizon, and then there was this military coordinates technology they used to have that used to be able to see over the horizon, bounce off a satellite, teach a missile or a tank how to hit something that was a long way away.
Like battleships
and stuff like that. So we all now actually can see. We've all got that satellite that actually sits up there and is looking over the horizon. And the high probability is, and this is what all media tell you, if you should chat with your advisor and your accountant and maybe your economist. Your economist will probably get it wrong, but they're allowed to talk about
fucking
this.
Economists.
But we've now got this kind of higher level perspective of where things are going to run over the next 12, 24, and potentially into the medium term future. So if we're short, We play where the game is going to be in the future.
You play
Interest
the noise.
rates high.
Short is playing the noise. Yeah.
But you play the noise and you play it aggressively in advance.
Yeah.
So you know what? If you're in NFL and you've got a massive lineup of really big guys that are going to just crunch you, well, you dose up on small people who are nimbler and are going to be able to run around it. And so the analogy there in finance is interest rates go up. You brace, you build up a little bit of cash, but then you look to deploy, right? And over the other side of it, you're then starting to look at the opportunities, because what we know that everything's forward booked. Everyone's playing a forward game. And as things start to normalize, prices start to become more competitive. Oil and gas will be a major dictator of this. Like they're affected in other areas, but if they start to stabilize and come back down, we know that shipping is starting to become a little bit more normalized. But still play that game in advance, because if we play that game, then we're going to have reserves. If we go along for the ride, then we're going to overextend ourselves, and then we're going to splash out and spend it on bullshit. I think I've overcomplicated it.
Yeah, let's simplify. What are the leading measures you're saying? All right, what
shipping costs are coming down.
If there were 3 leading measures on your neck of the woods, what would you say they are?
Interest rates are going up.
Yep.
Interest rates are coming down.
Yep.
Play as if they're up. Plan as if they're down medium term.
Down's just cherry on the top. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you play the game as if they're up, then everything you've got is good side down.
Anything on the other side is upside.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%. So if you look at that, then you can do great things on the other side. And then maybe in 6 months' time, we'll be sitting in a very, very different circumstance where all of a sudden all the supply chain issues have sorted themselves out. In Australia, I think it's likely that unemployment's going to go up.
I think so. I think so. Like we'll
quite
see
dramatically.
We'll see it.
Which productivity goes up.
Well,
wage pressure stabilizes, normalizes.
And I actually think it'll be a good thing for the economy that we have a little bit of competition in the employment market, but that's for business owners because
across the board.
Yeah.
You need it to get stuff out of the ground to ship offshore so that Australia can still be.
Well, you need unemployment, and this is not wishing anybody to be unemployed, but you need unemployment to be up a little so you can actually have enough people in the country to have jobs, to do the things that you need to.
It's to
deliver them at a price that people can afford, right?
So this is fundamentally a bad thing if somebody goes, I can leave here and get a job anywhere.
Yeah.
That's fundamentally bad. It's not a good thing for the overall economy.
It's not good for the price of things. It's not good for inflation, which ultimately, folks, is not good for your home loan. Because if people can leave and demand massive prices, really for no real extra skill value added. This is the issue, Fenton. Like you and I have chatted about this, and sometimes people are a bit over the top about it. If you could leave tomorrow and your skills have not improved or changed and get paid $20,000 more, I think that is a problem, right? Because that's not you, folks. That's the economy, right? If you could leave tomorrow because your skills have improved significantly and you demand a $50,000 pay rise because you're fucking better at what you do, all the power to you, right?
And to the economy.
And to the economy. The problem is when value is not added to the businesses that they go to or the products that they go to, it actually devalues the economy. So anyway, we could talk about that one at another time. Anyway, Fenton, did we deliver some value? I don't know. I think we drank too much wine tonight, and we should.
And it's Jason's 50th.
Woo!
So
anyway, we're having a party tomorrow, not even tonight.
This is the preamble.
This is the prees. Anyway, folks, listen. Appreciate you joining us. I'm not a fan of the flower by minute. Yeah, you're dead right, Deb. Anyway, we've done an extra long one tonight because it was a nice place to hang out.
Jesus.
Hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. And you're still all here. That's amazing.
It is amazing. All right, well, listen, folks, give us a shout out in the chat. If tonight was okay, I mean, we might come back and do it again. First night fever. You might be right. Happy birthday. Thanks, folks. Good to see you guys. Appreciate you being here tonight. Always always appreciate you attending and coming along and supporting us.
I reckon we need to unpack everything we went through tonight. It was mind-bending when you came up with another atom bomb in a world that was already an atom bomb. But I agree with you. It was a good first 50. Mate, here's to the next 50.
Thanks, mate. Thank you, folks. Good to see you. And join us next week for another one. It won't be in such impressive places, I don't think. But there you go.
Back in our dens.
All right, folks. You guys have an awesome weekend. It's a good night from me, that's for sure.
And it's a good night from him. Happy 50th, mate.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a thing, folks.
We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Debrief the week with Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Every Friday at 5 p.m. Victoria and New South Wales time. We know that Queensland, South Australia, WA have different time zones, as does Darwin, but we're sure that you can do the calculations depending on whether it's daylight savings or not.
You can also catch up on all the episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you check out the Positive Mentor podcast from our 6-star team at positivementor.com.au.